So today I'm going to be showing you guys my process to turn images of actual tools into cute little keychains like this guy. We're going to be using Inkscape and a couple other free tools. Then we're going to 3D print some out for us so we can actually see what our results are. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to be using a program called Inkscape. It's a great 2D vector program. So I've actually already started a couple of little silhouettes, but we're actually going to just go ahead and do one together here. So we're actually going to be using this little adjustable end wrench. So I'm going to import my image. Let me turn that webcam off. So I'm going to import my image in file. So it's going to come in really, really big, and that's fine. Actually make our job a little bit easier if we've got more detail. So using Control and one of those arrows, I'm going to, in the corner, I'm going to scale this down, holding Control using the mouse wheel. I'm going to zoom right on in. And there we go. So that's pretty much what I want. So now I'm going to use the Bezier curve tool, and I'm going to just start kind of tracing these different points. So I'm just trying to get the major points. We don't need to be perfect. We just want to be fairly accurate with what we're doing. So I just zoomed in again. Control, hold down Control and use the mouse wheel. So if I were to click down on this point, I'd run into a problem because we'd be cutting that corner. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to add just some extra points. That is going to make it kind of blocky, but that's fine. I'll show you guys a trick that helps clean that up. So I'm actually just clicking on the mouse wheel and pulling down, clicking and holding, and that actually lets me move the screen. So we don't want to have any of the keyboard keys topped or pressed at that point. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to kind of match this best I can side to side. That's just kind of locking this in. There is a certain amount of symmetry that we want to try to maintain, so I'm just trying to get as close to that as we can where it's important. Once again, just kind of job, poking those down there. I don't know what job means, but that's what I was doing apparently. So when you're done with your shape and you're ready to close it in, if you actually just kind of mouse over, you'll notice that that empty white box changes to red. That means that it's going to go ahead and close the object for us. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to my fill and stroke, and I'll change my stroke paint color. That just makes this next part a little bit easier because you can actually see where we've got these curves. They're a little bit more jagged than we want. So this part's really easy. So if we wanted to, we could come in here and we could grab using the node editing tool, we could grab this line and we can push it around and we can tweak it, and then we can go to the next section and tweak it. But then you start getting these little bumps where, you know, it kind of comes in to a point. We don't really want that. So we're actually going to do the easy way. We're just going to go ahead and select a bunch of those. So using the node editing tool, select our path. Go ahead and select our couple of nodes. We're going to hit delete on the keyboard, and it will automatically smooth them for us. So it's a really quick, simple way of taking out, you know, kind of trying to fit it to those curves. So essentially what it's doing is it's just saying, oh, okay, there's quite a few points here. We need to tweak this a little bit. And then it just forces them together the best it can. So we're going to do the same thing over here. So we're just going through, we're just tweaking this the best we can. So down here, this one's going to be a little different because I don't know that I'm going to be able to get this quite accurate enough. So we'll just try real quick. Yeah, that's not too bad. I think I can do it. So another way you can adjust the curves, so you obviously can grab the line, drag it around. You can also grab these handles, and this gives you the ability to just kind of drag that line where we want it. It might not be too bad. Okay, so I think that we're pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and delete our item so we get the silhouette. That looks pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to use one of these to kind of, one of the ones I've already done to give us a size reference. So I'm shooting for about 40 millimeters in overall height. So we can actually just come up here and make sure that our aspect lock is checked. We're just going to type in 40. So then we're going to just compare it to this other tool. We want it to have a little bit of consistency. So I think that's actually not too bad. Make it a little bigger. I like some variation. And you know, I don't really like that angle. So we're just going to go ahead and tweak that real quick. So we're just going to come in here. You know, I think I'm just going to delete that. Let's see what that does. Oh, that's not good. So what if I do, It doesn't really look like a crescent wrench then much, does it? So I guess we'll just leave that the way it is and hope that everyone else knows it's a crescent wrench. If not, people will know it's a wrench. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to make our little hole for our keyring. So we're just going to use the circle tool, and we're just kind of eyeballing this. It doesn't need to be perfect for my purposes. You may think differently. So I'm just clicking the control and I'm dragging those out so we get a nice consistent circle and not, you know, kind of an oval. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do our outside circle, and we're going to select both the outside circle and our wrench object. We're going to come up here to path. We're going to do union, and so then that'll stick those together. Now the next thing that we want to do is we want to position this. You know, actually I'll show you a little more precise way of positioning this. So I just undid those. So we're going to select our small object, our large object. We're going to hit align and distribute. That's Shift Control A. We're going to come up relative to biggest object, and we're actually just going to do these two, center on vertical, center on horizontal, and that'll position it right in the middle there. So now we're going to go ahead and select our outer circle and our wrench. Again, we're going to hit path, we're going to hit union, and then that will combine those two together. Now we're going to select our small circle and our wrench, and we're going to come up here, we're going to go path, and this time we're actually going to do exclusion. So what that actually did was that cut that center out, but we still have one object, so I'm using my nodes. So this is actually tied together. So that gives us the ability to move these around a little more reliably, a little more consistently, as if it's one object. So we're going to go ahead and come up to our fill and stroke. We're going to just put our fill in black. That lets us get a little better idea what it's going to look like. So now I have a couple of items here, so we're just going to kind of stick these together. The next part, we're going to be using an online web-based SVG or SVG to STL converter. So it's called SVG to STL. It's at svg to stl.com. So this is the SVG to STL converter. So we're going to first select our file. So then we're going to hit upload. And there we go. So for these little key fob keychains, I like to use 3 millimeters. So you can type in that height there. And then we hit convert. And there we go. So it's kind of simplified some of the lines. So we're getting, you know, there's a little bit of variation from what we originally have drawn, but that is acceptable. So we're going to go ahead and save that file. I've already got one on there because I tested this already. Then we're going to open up our slicer. So we're going to be using PrusaSlicer because we're going to be printing these on our Prusa Mark IIIs. So we'll just go ahead and drag this guy in here. Select our Mark III. Go ahead and import. We'll check the file, make sure it works right. So when we've done this, we've actually generated a single STL file that actually has 4 separate bodies. Let's say I just wanted to print multiples of 1, or I wanted to save these separately. PrusaSlicer is really nice. It has a functionality built in that we can easily remove or separate those. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our object. So when it turns green, that lets us know it's selecting. We've got our little selection box. We're going to right click and we're going to go to split, and then we're going to go to objects. And so now we have, as you can see in our little menu there, or a little sidebar, we actually have 4 separate items. Also allows you to get a little better packing of your materials. You can duplicate one or the other, or whatever, however you want to do it. So let's just do our preview real quick, make sure it looks like it's going to slice everything. So I just did a basic slice. I'm using whatever default I had last time I printed, and that seems fine. So the cool thing with these, because they are so thin, so that was at 0.15 layer height. It was going to take about 39 minutes when we do 0.3 draft, and it only takes about 19 minutes. So it doesn't really change the amount of time a whole lot when you're talking to something relatively small. So I just usually do the draft quality because I don't really care exactly how the layer lines look. It actually makes them a little bit stronger if we use them for a keychain, get a little bit larger cross section. Or at least that's what I read once on the internet. So there we go. So now we have our models ready to go, ready to export onto our SD card and print on our printers. Now we're in the future, so I can show you the prints that I've made. So This is our, 4 of our basic tools, and they also have the saw, which is a little bit too large for me to hold in my hand. So hopefully this gives you guys some ideas on how you can take an image and convert it to an SVG, and then if you want to do 3D printing, you can 3D print it. If you're using another process like vinyl cutting, CNC router, or laser cut, or something like that, you can actually stop at the SVG process, and you don't have to convert it to an SDL. So this is a really cool way of generating some custom shapes or shapes off of real world things without having to necessarily be a super fantastic artist. There we go. So if you have any questions, let us know. Hopefully this helps you out. We'd love to see what you make. Share with us. Links for all of the downloads are in the description.